It was a moving account of residential school life told by two people who lived it. Yesterday, a group of teachers, politicians, and youth workers gathered in Mission for a tour of St. Mary's School. They're guides to Indigenous survivors, and they shared some of their stories with us.
You always had this feeling of doom in September when you had to go to school. Hopefully you'd be back for Christmas, and if not, you wouldn't be back till June. So you were out 10 months out of that year.
In many cases, a lot of the children were taken away without any objection from their parents to be delivered to the residential school. My parents were told if they did not allow our kids to go to school, they would be thrown in jail.
School was one of discipline. It was one of get in line quickly, be quiet, don't be heard, get over here, do this, do that. That was the extent of our day.
To fear from being strapped or watching the strap, that never ever left my mind.
You got strapped for foolish things like being loud, being slow to get in line, maybe just being a kid, just being a child.
Watching little kids be strapped for things that were uncontrollable by them, like wetting the bed. And it was horrific to watch daily, not only one kid, but many.
And the emotional part of it is just getting verbally abused. That was, the piece of cake side of it.
But apparently it got seriously worse with the sexual abuse that not only happened to me, but my schoolmates, my teammates, the young ladies that I walked with in these halls.
All age groups from kindergarten up through probably the 12th grade. So nobody was immune from this treatment.
And it was a destruction of our mind and body and spirit. But my purpose here today to do these presentations is to protect the young people in this education system nowadays, that they do not become victims like we have.
So look, incredibly powerful stuff. And one of our reporters, Rafferty Baker, was there to listen to so many of these stories. And I think to myself, these are stories that sadly have become all too common. But I suspect listening to them face to face, that's a very different thing.
It is. It was incredibly moving listening to these two gentlemen share their stories, right? And one of them there, he began by wielding that strap and whack against the table, and just the noise. You could hear a pin drop after that. And he was just holding it, thinking about those days, the violence that was inflicted on a regular basis, and it was quite moving, and you could see the impact it had on everyone who was taking part in that tour.
After all these years, do you feel like the greater public, or do they feel like the greater public gets it, that they understand just how damaging a chapter in Canada's history that was?
It's hard to say what the perception of these two gentlemen is on the broader public. Certainly the people there along for the tour, they get it. If they didn't before the tour, they did afterward, after hearing these accounts. But they were very moved. Some of them are already working with Aboriginal youth, so they're familiar with this history, quite familiar, and the shadow that it casts. But they walked out of that just saying, I'm angry. I already know the story, but it angers me to hear it again, and really stirs up a lot of emotion. Others were more sad.
Well, because and I was going to ask about that, because I was wondering how people would have left a meeting like that. Would they have left feeling defeated in some sense to have to either relive or to hear these stories? Would they have left feeling empowered, having the knowledge?
It's going to be a total combination, right? And a mix for each individual of those emotions. A lot of them were teachers there, so there was a sense of empowerment. I now can tell that story to my students. I don't know, but I didn't learn this stuff when I was in high school. So it's relatively new that it's making its way into curriculum. So a lot of those teachers, I think, were feeling empowered. Others were sad. I saw people embrace, and there was a ceremony on the way out the door too, where there was a smudge and cedar boughs, a bit of a cleansing just for the participants of the tour to go off on a positive note.
Well, Rafferty, thanks for sharing that with us.
Thanks.